Chef JKP soldiers, a very warm welcome to season 11. You all know the format by now. We discuss the ups, the downs of the industry and what brings people together, as well as, of course, those amazing food memories. Plus, an occasional funny story or two, perhaps an emotional one. You will be happy to know that for the first time ever, we have an extended season. That's right, 16 episodes, you lucky lot. Before we talk about who and what's coming up on the show, I would like to say a massive thank you for each and every single one of you who message me on a daily basis to talk about the show and saying how much you really love it, as well as when you're tagging it on Emirates Airlines or on Instagram or LinkedIn. I don't take it for granted, and thank you always so much for your support. Now, I'm very happy to announce that Potatoes USA is this season's headline sponsor. They have been working tirelessly in the region for several years now, educating students, professionals and food distributors on all things potatoes. And actually, they have some fantastic recipes and they have a great resource for anyone who wants to learn about this humble spud. For all of the details, I will place all of the information in the show notes. We have a stellar lineup of guests, from game changers to tastemakers, with an inspirational insights that you can all learn from, whether you're in the industry or not. So without further ado, this is what you can expect from our inspirational guests during this season.
As a chef, you're always faced with challenges. Definitely no shortage of challenges that we've had over the years that I've been in the potato industry.
I guess at the beginning it was very chaotic. There was no plan. There was just, I want to do this, you know. I didn't like university at all. Finished it to make my dad happy. It's like Arab dad, you have to go to university, you have to be the mashallah guy, you know, all of that.
I think I was not ready to do this. But just the owner of the restaurant, Jean-Jacques, he told me, Christophe, just because you are French, you take the position of the pastry chef.
You know, the most notable one that I got a rejection from was Stanley Tucci's wife.
What did that lovely lady say?
She said, "Oh, sorry, your project is, basically we're not interested in your project."
My dad told me, listen, if you want to do that work, you have to go for what is best. But I couldn't go immediately to a 3 Michelin star restaurant. I mean, at that time, it's not like today. Today, there aren't chefs anymore left. It's very easy to get chef. But when I started, it was opposite.
After 1.5 years, the number was just like, wow, aggressively going up. People were fighting outside for a seat, like, I know Akmal, and I know I'm his friend. And then my wife was like, he's my husband. I know you're not his friend.
Chemo, radiation, I had, it was a 9-hour operation, right? And then after that, I could not use this arm because obviously, when they open the bonnet and they work on the engine.
Now, personally, what have I been up to? As always, it's been a busy time since the last time we spoke, which was way back on season 9. And if you're new to the show, by the way, a very warm welcome. I always do a solo episode to give it a little sneak peek, if you like, of the new and upcoming season. First of all, the Michelin Guide was released in Dubai, and oh boy, it was a double whammy. First of all, personal friend and friend of the show, and the restaurant that I've always loved and admired since its inception in Dubai, or since it was born. Basically, Tressin Studio received the coveted 3 stars. It was phenomenal. And of course, it was led by Himanshu and the legend that is VIP directing the front of house. The other one is the new kid on the block, at least new in Dubai. Restaurant FZN also received 3 stars. So a huge congratulations to Bjorn Fransen, Torsten and the team. It was a historic moment, not just for Dubai, but for the region. The other thing is, I'm also part of the judging panel for Cater Middle East, so congratulations to everyone who is highly commended and the winners, of course. And in fact, let me just say, if you want to be in it to win it, just enter, gang. There were 1,300 entrants this time, so please enter. I'm sure you'll win. Now, the other thing is I'm doing a little bit of food writing, but I'll get into that into another episode. Myself and the missus went to the United Kingdom, sister's wedding, saw the family, ate loads of food, visited some amazing places. And believe it or not, it didn't rain. So that was nice. I'm also on the advisory board for the hotel show. We had some great panels on there, and I would even go as far as to say it was probably the best and the biggest. So yeah, Lots of invites to restaurants, new menus, openings, press trips, which also is really, really cool. So there's a lot going on in the world of food. And funnily enough, I've been asked to be interviewed on other podcasts, which is really exciting. So I'll share all of those across our socials. But before we get into it, I want to give a little message to everyone in the hospitality industry globally. I want to say on behalf of your families, thank you for working so hard. Thank you for making the crazy sacrifices, the long days, the missed holidays, the time when no one said thanks for your hard work. I wanted to say thank you. I see you. I appreciate everything that you do. No matter if you're a street food vendor or work in a 3-star Michelin restaurant, we are all connected by food. The love that we share is incredible. So this is just a small reminder that we are eternally grateful for the food that you bring to the table in more ways than one. When it comes to this season, let me get into it. The theme is growth. Each guest for the past 11 seasons have given us the most vulnerable and inspiring stories. How they had to fight to be where they are today. However, in this season, we get into depth. I am having to do my due diligence all the time, my homework on every single guest who sits opposite me. We're going to turn the tables. I've decided to ask all of you guys in the hospitality community and beyond to ask me questions. So for the first time ever in 11 seasons, we're going to do a Q&A. And I must admit, I'm a little bit daunted. There's no script. The answers will be my thoughts and opinions. The questions have been from all over the world, by the way, so I'll do my absolute best to answer them. All right? So, here we go. I'm going to start. Now, first of all, as I said, there was no question which was off the table, right? So, here we go. First one comes from all the way from London. Amelia Brooks, student chef. So the question is, Chef James, if you could go back to culinary school, what's the one thing you'd study harder on? Or perhaps miss entirely? So when I went to culinary school, I did 3 years. Admittedly, the first 2 years were sort of management and front of house, I would say. And I think if I was to go back in time, I'd probably just do like a solid 3 years kitchen. But in saying that, it set me up to understand service. I mean, it literally set me up for everything. And I met some amazing people along the way. But if I was to skip, I wouldn't skip it entirely. I would probably say, yeah, I'd focus more culinary. So thank you for that, Amelia. Next one, Ravi, manager in Dubai. How do you keep chefs motivated during those brutal double shifts when everyone's running on fumes? Ravi, that's a really amazing question. To be honest, I think us chefs, and you know, if you're asking me about chefs, we run on adrenaline. And what do I mean by that? I mean the love of service. So 1 hour before service, making sure that everything is set up. And trust me, if you've worked in kitchens, you know 1 hour pre-service, everyone is either really focused or running around like a madman because they haven't prepped enough. And then when service hits, you have to be ready. And I think not only is it that, it's also pushing the team and the other one is being part of a team is really important. I don't think we talk about that enough. And also, chefs, just talk to all of your chefs. It doesn't matter who they are. Do one-to-ones, talk to all of them, get to know them. I think that's really important. So for me, it's motivating them beyond just the service. It's also looking to their future. That's really important. Next question from a food critic in Paris, no less, Claire Dubois. So, do you think, this is an amazing question, do you think the Michelin guide still matters as much in today's world of Instagram, TikTok and food trends. Oh my goodness. So you're going to talk to me about a Michelin guide. My thoughts are the following. Number one, I love what the Michelin guide stands for, to the point that I actually had it tattooed. I've got 3 stars tattooed on me, because I love what the Michelin guide sort of stands for, and the fact that it's it is the very first guide in the world and the oldest guide. So it was born in 1900. It's an incredibly respected book, and despite whatever people think or say about it, in my opinion, I do believe it matters. Today, I still believe it matters. Chefs, whether they admit it or don't admit it, they want to be in that guide. They say, no, I don't want to be in that guide. I want to cook for my guests, which is true. 100%. They want to cook for the guests and keep their guests super happy. But when you're included in that guide, there is something really special. And it means not only that your peers are watching you, it means that the world can actually see you. So yes, it is very much important in today's world. And I think also with the guide, there are so many people, they either, it's like Marmite. You either love the guide or hate the guide. But in my opinion, I still think it matters a lot. And of course, the other thing is that what you have to think about is when you're cooking for your guests and you're doing the hospitality thing and making sure that everyone is happy, all the other guides, whether it's the Michelin guide, 50 Best, Go and Merlot, whatever guide it is, they will be watching because you've got social media. People can now push you, so it does matter. It does matter, I would say. Thank you. A bit of a crazy one from a food critic, eh? Luis Fernandez from Madrid. Okay. Interesting one. What's the funniest kitchen disaster you've ever witnessed, and how did you save the service? Well, Luis, thank you very much for asking me such an insightful question. Right. So, I'm not going to say where, but so I worked in a restaurant with a really amazing team, and a small team. And it was a Friday night, busy. We were fully booked. But there was only a few of us in the kitchen. Anyways, one of the waitresses dropped in the stewarding area. She dropped a glass. Surprise, surprise. For some reason, she tried to pick it up and basically sort of sliced a few of her fingers. And as she was bleeding, she started shaking. And just to put it into context, she did this at sort of 8:30 p.m. when we were at our absolute busiest. We were up to a maximum. Everyone was running around. I was on the pass, reading the checks, making sure that everything was smooth. She cut herself, and the first aid box is in the kitchen because everybody's always cutting themselves and burning themselves. So, of course, in the kitchen, get the first aid box. I'm the first aider. So I have to leave the pass. And I'm also cooking, by the way. So I'm reading the pass and I'm cooking. She comes to me and she's like, Chef, I've cut myself. And she's bleeding. But as she's bleeding, she's going white. So next, in my head, she's about to faint. So I tell my sous chef, take over very quickly, and she faints. So we have to put her on the floor, wrap her up. I mean, at the time, it was crazy. Everything was fine. We were like, get the chocolate, get the chocolate. So of course, that's your go-to, by the way. If anybody ever cuts their finger, get the chocolate. She has that. She has some water, calms down, and goes back to work. But in the meantime, everything around me was going wild. So I don't know. I mean, literally, it seemed like time stopped. She was fine. It was just a few cuts, but it wasn't nothing deep. But it was just the fact that there was a lot of blood. But she went white so quickly, and I remember thinking, "Oh my God, no." Long story short, we saved the service. Everybody was happy, and we had a great laugh at her expense. And we got a few drinks at the end, so that was good. So thank you very much. Next one, Maya, so hospitality student here in Dubai. If you weren't a chef or a podcaster, what other career would you have smashed? Oh. So all of you know that before I became a chef, I studied music, and I still love music. My specialty was drums or anything percussion. Some of you may or may not know I was in a samba band, I was in a rock band. You name it, anything that I could play, I would literally smash it. To the point that, I still love drums, and I still love any genre of music. So I think I'd probably be a session musician, playing for Oasis, I would say. That's what I would do. But yeah, because I love it. And it's also artistic, and it's with the hands, of course. So that's probably what I would be doing. So thank you, Maya. Appreciate that question. Okay, Oliver. Okay, food blogger from Singapore this time. Chef, you've interviewed some of the biggest names in food. Who's the one guest you're still dying to get on the podcast? Okay. So, Oliver, it's what I would say the Holy Trinity. Who are the Holy Trinity? Gordon Ramsay, Marco Pierre White, and Jamie Oliver. Because for me, those three really changed the game. So if I'm able to get any one of those fine gentlemen, it would be an absolute honor to get them on the show. I think that would be, that would be incredible to have the opportunity to get them on. However, I think if it wasn't chefs, I don't know who it would be if it wasn't other chefs. I mean, there's celebs and all of those sorts of things, but I think it would have to be somebody who's highly intellectual. I think it would have to be somebody who's just made a huge difference in the world in a really positive way. Somebody like Jose Andres, and you know what he's doing with his work across the world, especially with the World Central Kitchen, going to war zones and feeding people. I think that is something which is exceptional and should be celebrated. So somebody like that would also be amazing. All right, so thank you very much for that question. Okay, next one, Sophie Williams. So pastry student in Edinburgh. What's the one dessert you secretly hate but pretend to love when people serve it to you? Oh my God. All right, so what's the one dessert you secretly hate but pretend to love when people serve it to you? Sophie, what a question. I mean, that is a loaded question. It's difficult to say you hate desserts, but I think, what I struggle with, all right. What I really struggle with is, so I love everything desserts, and I love pastry chefs, bakers, and I trained also in pastry for some time and bakery. And you all know that, first of all, if I'm stressed, I go to bread. So I will make bread at home if I'm stressed, because you can beat the bread and go mental with it, and then it takes time. Desserts also, I think dessert or pastry chefs are scientists, and I love that about you all. I think you're so intelligent in terms of what you do, the time, everything being precise. And I will quote my friend Tom Allen, who also quoted Heston Blumenthal, basically saying that if pastry chefs, all measure everything with recipes, then savory kitchens should be the same, which is true. Now, I digress. Let's talk about cake, all right? Now, wherever you go in the world, there is birthday cakes, celebration cakes, blah, 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 right? What I don't like with cakes is when somebody serves it to you. Oh my God. And they say, oh yeah, this is my signature cake, or this is my favorite cake, and I got the recipe from so and so, la la la. And so in your mind, you're already, this is going to be a really amazing cake. It's a signature recipe. It's going to be amazing. And then visually, I already know if it's going to be dry or heavy. Heavy as in like, you haven't beaten the eggs on the mixture enough to aerate and to make it nice and light. Because cakes should be nice and light, right? Most cakes should be. So they've given it the big one. They said, yeah, this is the signature. La 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 la. Expectation is very high. You get your spoon in, and it's hard. So then you already know. The worst thing is you got to taste it and pretend like it's really good. Oh yeah, it's very good. It's rubbish. So team, whenever you're making a cake, please make it nice and light. Make sure you taste it. And you know, what I would also say is when you're making that mixture of cake, there's a reason why your grandmother and your mum made you lick or taste the spoon to make sure that the mixture tastes amazing. So please, just taste it. Make sure it's nice. If it needs a bit of sugar, you can add it, so on and so forth. Bit of vanilla essence, whatever it is. I'm begging you. So thank you, Sophie, for letting me share my feelings on cake. Next, please, I've got Ahmed Al Mansouri from Abu Dhabi. Oh, this is an amazing question and right up my street. How can young Emirati chefs make their mark internationally while staying true to their heritage? Brilliant question. So I've been in the Emirates now for 13 years. And I've always said you have modern Spanish food, modern Japanese food, modern British, blah, blah, blah. Why can't we have, modern Emirati food, let's say? And I have to say, there is so much talent when it comes to young Emirati chefs these days. The colleges are doing an incredible job inspiring young talent to come through. And the fact that, not just Dubai, but also Abu Dhabi is flying the flag for young Emirati chefs, and also in terms of Emirati talent. So, and you all know, I worked with Faisal Al-Harmoudi at Reba. The job was to push Emirati flavors. At the same time, you also have people like Chef Khalid, who is here, Faisal from Lento, Sahar, incredible pastry chef. So there's a lot of talent here. Now, how can they make their mark internationally? For me, look, I think it's simple. We're bringing, all the international chefs are coming here, and they are tasting the food, and they understand how amazing things are. And I've said it millions of times, it just takes one or two big names to take our talent here, our Emirati talent, across the world and push that narrative. Somebody who's been doing that already with the region is a friend and legend. Shout out to Hatem Matar for doing an amazing job, going to the US, talking about the region and sharing food, and being able to share the story of the region through food, which I think is phenomenal. So, and I think more and more and more Emirati talent is coming through, and I want all of us to be able to showcase where the spices come from, or the different recipes, or where the families are getting together, all of those sorts of things. And I believe it's happening. I really believe it's happening. So we're absolutely on the right track. Thank you, Ahmed. Oh, wow. So we've got one from New York here. Hannah Price, sous chef. So, big potato. So, be honest. Do chefs ever really follow recipes at home? Or do you just freestyle with whatever's in the fridge? That is such a chef question. Be honest. Do chefs really follow recipes at home? Okay. No. And also, by the way, Hannah, I believe that they're probably also not cooking at home. And if they're going to cook at home, it's going to be 5-minute instant noodles. Let's be honest. And throw in with whatever's in the fridge. I think also we love to freestyle, no? Chefs, they love to just see, okay, what's in the fridge, raid the cupboards, go wild, create something either really delicious or something really horrible and disgusting, and then be like, what was I thinking? Depending on your state of mind, of course. So, yeah, I don't think they really follow recipes at home, unless you're making a cake. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Next one. All the way from Mexico. Diego. What's your ultimate guilty pleasure street food when you travel? Oh. Okay, so when I travel. I think it's not even a guilty pleasure. I think it's try anything. That's my guilty pleasure. Especially street food, and shout out to all you amazing street food vendors across the globe. You are doing your country an absolute favor and an incredible service by sharing your street food, your recipes. So, Diego, muchas gracias. In Mexico, it's not a guilty pleasure. I think it's probably, if anything, it's eating too much. We all know, right? So we work really hard. Some of us may or may not go to the gym or stay healthy and blah, blah, blah. You go, and then you're already mentally, I'm on vacation. I'm on holiday. I need to eat. It's okay. And then, you try and be mindful a little bit. And then, maybe 1 week or 3 weeks later, you've put on 10 kilos because you're indulging in so much street food, right? But yeah, I would say that's my guilty pleasure, is probably overeating delicious food. All right, next one. Layla from Dubai. All right, so is the chef's ego really as big as everyone says, or is that just a myth? The chef's ego. All right. So we want to talk about the chef's ego. First of all, everybody, doesn't matter if it's a chef, a banker, a lorry driver. I think we all have an ego. But if we hone in, Layla, on chefs, I think it depends on many things. I would say it's the younger chefs who have a bigger ego. It's not so much your sort of executive chefs, I would say. I mean, of course, they all have egos. Let's not kid ourselves. But as you're coming up in the ranks, and I would say sort of senior chef de partie, junior sous chef, till you get to around, even when you're head chef, I mean, that's when the ego sort of kicks in. And please write into me and tell me that I'm wrong. All of you, tell me. And no, James, no, it's not. I want to know. But again, in my opinion, I think yes, but your ego can also destroy you. So one thing that's really funny about my mum is that she always says, James, be humble. Be humble. And I have all my life. So I think it's really important to be humble, keep the ego in check. Sometimes you have to use it occasionally. But it is very much a living thing, the chef's ego. But I think it's now started to come down a little bit with chefs, but I don't know. Let me know. I'd like to know what you guys think. Please tell me, do chefs have huge egos, or have you not seen it? Let me know. I'd love to know. Next one, Ben Thompson, a lecturer in Birmingham, United Kingdom. What advice would you give to culinary students who dream of working abroad? My advice is, and that's a great question, Ben. Thank you so much. So my advice to students or culinary students who dream of working abroad, do it. Single-mindedly. Don't think about it. Go. It will be the best decision you will ever make in your life. Culinary travel, or travel, in fact, educates the mind, educates the soul. It widens and broadens your horizons. So I would say do it. 100% do it. Within saying that, of course, do your due diligence. Go to places that will push you. Go to places that excite you. Make sure that if you know somebody in that country, you have family there, even better. But really research on where you would like to go. That's really important, and then do it. But don't for a minute hesitate. It's really important. I know a lot of chefs who even start on cruises, so they travel the world, but that's hard. You're talking about 4 months on, no day off. So, and it also depends, but I think it's one of the most amazing things to do it. And do it. Don't hesitate. Go. So, Ben, thank you very much for that question. All right, so I'm going to try and say this name correctly. Katerina Ioannou, restaurant owner, Athens. So sorry if I said your name very wrong. For all the Greeks out there, I do apologize. If you had to open a restaurant tomorrow in Greece, what would be your concept? Greek. So Katerina, great to know that there's people listening in Athens. So what would be my concept? Sounds... Okay, it would be two things. First one would be a family bakery. So I would do literally a bakery. Easy. And because also obviously you wake up super early, get the bread done, and then you've got the rest of the day to yourself to go to the beach and chill out. The other one I would probably do of course I have to do a fish restaurant. Family style fish restaurant. Everything wood grilled and fresh. That's it. But family style. No fancy schmancy. Simple, delicious, straight to the point. That's what I would do. Next one. So Marcus Lee, Hotel GM in Hong Kong. Oh my God, here we go. How do you convince hotel revenue teams that chefs actually drive profit, not just costs? Ooh, that's a loaded question. Okay, so revenue teams. I think from experience, the most important thing is that you have an open and honest conversation with your finance teams and directors, and both of you need to meet halfway, because there's many points and many times that finance teams and the ops teams, especially chefs, they don't mix, because chefs are artists. Finance teams are, of course, driven by numbers and revenue, and we have to meet in the middle. So I wouldn't say you have to convince the revenue team. It's just a case of, where is the vision for the revenue team? Where is the vision for the chef? And then how can they combine it together in order to get the results that they both require? I think that is what you have to focus on. Because at the end of the day, revenue teams, just hear me out. If you're cooking amazing things for your guests and your guests are happy, chefs are happy, they will work extra hard for you to gain the revenue, right? So that's what I would just say, because it's a loaded question, but at the same time, chefs, you have to listen. You have to listen to the revenue teams. You have to sort of put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, where am I going wrong? What can I do? What would you suggest? Maybe this is not the supplier who gives me the best produce. Can we go to another? You know what I mean? Let's open that dialogue, because I think it's a tricky one. But you both need to put yourselves in each other's place. All right, so we have one from Priya in Mumbai, food podcaster. So, tell me your podcast, Priya. I want to know. What's the secret sauce to keeping a podcast fresh after so many seasons? Well, thank you very much. What's the secret sauce? I think there is no secret sauce. The secret is actually a word that begins with C, and it's not chefs, by the way. Consistency. The most important thing with any podcast is to keep it consistent, to have, of course, different guests, different themes, and also be analytical of your show. You have to be extremely analytical and make sure that as a podcast, your job is to educate and to share and to be of service to as many people as possible. I think that's really important. If the podcast is just going to be about yourself and the listener or the viewer is going to get nothing from it, then it's game over. So it doesn't matter if it's a food podcast or a crypto podcast or, I don't know, a gardening podcast. The most important thing is, of course, to give as much information out there to the listener or the viewer and make sure that people are going to learn and take away so many things. At the same time, the consistency piece. So if you're going to say you're going to publish once a week, then publish once a week. Don't say, I will do, and then you forget, or people will trust you based on your consistency. So that's what I would say. But thank you. That's really nice. All right. So Tom from Comedy Chef in Dublin. Oh, great question. What's the one knife every young chef should invest in first? Beautiful question. That's a beautiful question. So Tom, the one knife, I would say two, buddy. So I would say a paring knife, so the smaller sort of knife, and then you want your cook's knife. I think that's super important. These are the two that will get you by, okay? And I had, and I have to say the paring knife, the smaller knife, saved my bacon, I would say, saved my life in so many ways. And also the cook's knife. You can't get it. You have to have a cook's knife. It's really important. And the other one, just team. And this is for everyone in the kitchen. Please, don't put your knives in the dishwasher. This is like the holy grail. Do never, ever, ever put the knife in the dishwasher. Wash the knife yourself. Keep it sharp at all times, and do what the Japanese do, which is at the end of service, sharpen the knife, put the knife to bed, respect it for the next day. Because if you look after the knife will look after you ultimately. Okay? Thank you, Tom. That's a great question. Okay, so and we have somebody from Cape Town, Sarah, home cook. So, what's your go-to dish when you want to impress friends at a dinner party, but you don't want to stress too much? Excuse me. So, Sarah, lovely question. My go-to dish. All right. So, a couple of things. First of all, we all know when you're at a dinner party, you don't want to cook, really, do you? You want to be with your friends. So you want to be having an amazing time. You want to be hosting with your friends, maybe catching up with friends, all of that sort of stuff. So you need some dishes that are going to be super easy. And for me, I have they're boring to you probably, but for me, they're my go-to, but I make them exceptional. So first one, if we're talking about salads, I always make a super simple tomato, onion, and cucumber salad with a very basic dressing. But if the dinner party is going to be, let's say, at 6 p.m., I dress and I make those tomatoes at around 12 o'clock. Mix everything together, and basically by the time that it gets to 6 o'clock, the marination of those tomatoes and all of those flavors are married so well that the salad tastes unbelievable. And of course you can add your dill or basil and those sorts of herbs to it, but the simpler the better. But the key actually is also, of course, getting phenomenal ingredients, but the dressing. So beautiful olive oil and really out of the box vinegar. So the acid. As an example, I love, and those chefs that have worked with me, they know, sherry vinegar or raspberry vinegar is beautiful. So it's a cheeky one, but it's always consistent. The other one, don't laugh. The main dish is a lasagna, believe it or not. Why? Why? I'll tell you why. So with the lasagna itself, with the meat, I will usually cook it for about 12 hours, a few days beforehand, because I want it to be super soft, marinated, melt in your mouth. So that's one part done. Then the bechamel sauce, I take a huge amount of time and pride on the bechamel sauce. So I will go to the lengths of making sure that the milk and the cream are infused with the most beautiful flavors. Of course, the bay leaf will be in there, some cloves, onion, garlic, thyme, rosemary, and I'll infuse it for about 3 to 4 days cold in the fridge to do a cold extraction of flavor. And then I'll cook that sauce beautifully, and I'll finish it with basically parmesan and mustard, so the umami will be there, and of course layering everything together. And the other thing is, of course, with a lasagna, and Italians, okay, I would say the top layer of the lasagna has to be crunchy. So make sure it is. Overcook it. But that's my go-to, because it's just, and once it's done and people dig in, it's an easy one, so you have the beautiful acidity of that salad with the lasagna together. It's a must, really. That's what I would do. And I'm not really there to impress friends, if I'm honest, when I'm at a dinner party or cooking. I don't want to impress them. I'm just there to have a good time with them, to be honest. And if it so happens that they're impressed, then bonus. So thank you, Sarah, for that question. Next one, Omar. And not Omar from Boca, but big shout out to Omar from Boca. Do you ever get nervous when critics are in the dining room, or do you block it out? So I must admit, I think in the early days, when I was first head chef, I was always nervous, super nervous, and it's actually a mistake, because the number one rule is that everyone gets treated the same. Everyone is VIP, and that is the golden rule in restaurants. Everyone is VIP. So now I don't get nervous at all. I just treat it like a normal table, because I want those guests to have, and those critics, food writers, whoever it is, to have an amazing experience. So I used to be nervous, but not anymore. But thank you for that. But it's a great question. All right, next one. Jessica Martin, PR exec in London. Who was your most surprising podcast guest? The one who was totally different off mic than on mic. Oh. Right, so Jessica, thank you for that amazing question, for putting me on the spot. Who was your most surprising podcast guest? Surprising. Who was different off mic than on? First of all, my job is to make the guests feel very, very, very warm and welcoming, because when they come into the studio, some of them get a bit nervous, right? So my job is to make them feel super comfortable from the very, very beginning. And actually, I would say it's the sort of people or chefs who have got a bit of a following that you may think, oh, that you may know them, but then actually once you get to know them in real life, as in when you're interviewing them and they sort of really open up warmly, I think that's what's really nice, is that you have some chefs who perhaps on social media or from the outside you think, oh, they might be arrogant, let's say, or they may not come across very well. But then when they're here and they open up and they become themselves and they relax, it's actually an amazing thing to witness. So I would say that is important, because when we do this show, it's about celebrating that specific guest, right? It's always celebrating the guest and making them feel amazing. But when you have those sort of guests who from the outside are very closed, but then they open up their life to you here, that's a gift. So I would say that's really important. So that's what surprises me. But there's not a particular guest. So sorry, but yeah. All right, Tariq, in Riyadh, do you think Middle Eastern cuisine is finally getting the global respect it deserves? Tariq, so look, and you're a culinary student in Riyadh. First of all, big up, huge shout out to Middle Eastern cuisine, because it's beautiful, diverse, versatile, flavoursome, full of heritage and history. So for me, I think it's always had a soft spot in my heart, even before I arrived to the Middle East. But I think, yes, 100%, it is getting respected, and it does deserve respect. The techniques that we have here date back centuries. The flavors, the spices, and you all know about the spice route and where things come from. And so yeah, and I'm super happy that finally, there's so many chefs across the entire Middle Eastern region that are singing its praises, and people are finally understanding it. So yeah, it's a really proud moment. Next one, Nina from Milan, photographer. So what's the most Instagrammable dish you've ever created, and did you make it for the camera or taste? Okay, most Instagrammable dish I've ever created. I would have to get my phone out, because ever created. So I think that I've ever created, that's such a good question, because we create all the time. I would say the work that I've done with a photographer called Juliette Dune, and if you don't know her, she's incredible. Very gifted photographer. She's been featured in books. She's done fashion photography, but extremely gifted photographer. She's actually done Natasha Sideris, legend, industry legend. She's done all her books as well. So she's just phenomenal. So please go and check out Juliette Dune. I'll also put it in the show notes. So we worked a few times together, and I have to say the photos that we created and the way that she did things were simply inspirational. And people do they talk about dry ice and all that sort of stuff. So of course we had to do it. We did a few with dry ice, and there was one we did with pineapple, which was just amazing. I have to say that was really cool. So anything that we did with her was really cool. But I'd have to go through Instagram and have a look. The other one I did was one called Duck in the Desert, which was basically like a duck terrine with raspberry powder, spinach powder, different textures of raspberry, and the actual desert was sort of breadcrumbs and peanuts. That was really cool. But yeah, and of course they all tasted amazing. I'm not just going to do it because it has to taste incredible, because somebody's going to taste it, right? So, but great question. All right, so we've got one from Samir. Samir in Dubai, and I think you're a kitchen porter or a steward. Do you remember your first ever kitchen porter or stewarding job? And did you hate washing dishes as much as we do? Wow. Samir, first of all, respect to all kitchen porters across the world, all stewards, anyone who is washing the dishes in a restaurant. You guys are the absolute heroes, okay? You guys are legends. So a massive shout out to you guys. Huge respect for what you do, because we couldn't do our jobs without you, truthfully, right? So I hope, so it says you hate your job. So I hope that you're getting trained by the chef to become a chef, basically. So excuse me for that, gang. My first ever kitchen porter job, I was 13. I worked in a university, Exeter University, washing dishes with my friends, and I absolutely loved it because it was crazy. Seeing the chefs, seeing the action, it was busy. Loved it. And it made me grow. So, and Samir, hit me up. Don't hate your job, buddy. Let's think of a way that think of it as a step to get you to where you want to go. Next one, Emily Carter, hospitality consultant in Toronto. What's the biggest mistake restaurants make when training their staff? Okay, Emily, the biggest mistake restaurants make, they don't train their staff. That's the biggest restaurant mistake. They get thrown in the fire and then expect them to sort of just do the job. And I think training is underrated. We recently had Kelvin Chung talk about that before they opened. His team spent 2 months studying recipes, studying how to, become the best. So it's really important. So that is the biggest mistake restaurants make. They don't train their staff, or don't train them enough, or give them enough ongoing support. That's really key. So please, restaurants, hotels, training has to be mandatory. It has to be an absolute part of everything that you do in order to become hugely successful. It's really important. Don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate how people, for your customers, for the loyalty of your team. Training is everything. It should be ongoing. Even restaurant managers, restaurant directors, get trained. Go to another restaurant. Learn their systems. Learn different skills. It's absolute key. So yeah, thank you for that, Emily. Thank you. Okay, we have a chef in Tokyo, Hiro. Okay, if you had to eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, would it be Japanese or anything else? Would it be Japanese or anything else? So, Hiro, obviously, you've hit a soft spot for me because I love Japanese food. But for the rest of my life, I would say it would be, I wouldn't put it under the blanket of Japanese, but definitely would be fish. For the rest of my life, I'm in. That's what I would say. But hats off to you, and respect to Japanese chefs, by the way. Legends. All right, next one. Okay, Zara. So, student chef in Manchester. Oasis, legends also. Excuse me. So, how do you Oh, this is a lovely question. How do you deal with imposter syndrome, especially when cooking alongside legends? Oh, that's an amazing question. Okay. I think all of us suffer from one point or another with this imposter syndrome. I think everybody has it. And then it gets sort of multiplied times 1,000 when you cook alongside or next to or with culinary legends, and you know, you're a student chef. And I hope that you will always, you know, cook with some really big people in your life because they teach you so much. But instead of thinking, you know, I should not be here, it should be more about being present in that moment and trying to take in as much as you possibly can. Because nobody can ever take it away from you. And it's not just, you know, about, you know, the Instagram or the TikTok, being on the phone and taking a selfie. Go deeper than that with these chefs. I would go so far as to really almost try and take the time to ask questions. Because in this day of technology and how quick-paced everything is, I think we forget the small moments that are really precious. And so when you're talking or when you're with people or when you're with culinary legends, it goes by in a flash. So for me, it's really important to be there at all times. But don't think to yourself, I shouldn't be here. No. Just be grateful and be proud of yourself that you're there with these phenomenal giants. It's really important. And of course, at some point, your brain is going to say you shouldn't be here, but you need to tell your brain to shut up. So Mo Gaudat, and shout out to Mo Gaudat, who is, and if you don't know him, Google this guy. He names his brain Becky. So he often tells Becky to shut up. And I think when you get that imposter syndrome in, tell the brain, time for you to be quiet. So just be in that moment. But that's a really lovely, lovely question, and thank you. All right, so we're going all the way to Australia, in Sydney. Michael Brown, retired chef. What's changed the most in kitchens since you first started out, and what hasn't changed at all? So what's changed the most? I think I will go to what hasn't changed at all. I would say what hasn't changed at all is camaraderie, or people taking the mickey out of each other, or having that sort of crazy kitchen banter between front of house, back of house. I think that will never change. You know, and I think that's why people love to be in kitchen environments, because it's I mean, just look at The Bear. God, we haven't even spoken about The Bear, the series. But yeah, I think that will forever stay as it is. You know, this banter, this camaraderie, this team, all of that kind of stuff. Whipping each other with towels, blah, 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 you know. Just funny stuff. Putting Tabasco in somebody's water. Not that I ever did that. But, you know. The thing that has changed the most in kitchens could be a number of things. So obviously technology's changed. Tickets, let's say, that's changed. But what I believe has really started to change is attitudes. What do I mean by attitudes? Attitudes, I think there's more of a sort of, I would say, not all, but I would say there's less aggression in the kitchen than when I first started, and I hope there is less aggression. physical aggression and mental aggression. I would say that's changed. Not all kitchens, unfortunately, and we recognize that, and we are working towards that. But the other one I think that has changed is more kind of that, work-life balance. I think it's recognized now that it's not healthy to work 18 hours a day. It does nothing for you. Cortisol levels are through the roof. I mean, it's just wrong, right? We know it's wrong. So I think the work-life balance is recognized, it's changed, and also the kitchen has become a more sort of nurturing environment, I would say. That's really important. But the other thing is that people also want to jump positions very quickly, which I disagree with. It's about learning the craft. Learn the craft. Students, learn the craft. Don't chase the money. Become a proper commie for 2, 3, 4 years. Then a demi-chef, 2 years. 2, 3, 4 years. And then a chef de partie, so you really understand. Money will come. But don't chase those positions early on. And I see it so often. A commie has been a commie for 6 months, and then he wants to jump to demi-chef, and he's only been working in a kitchen for 1 year, and then after 1 year he wants to become a chef de partie, and then after 2 years wants to become a sous chef. You're not ready. You're not ready for the management. You're not ready. Generally, you will fail in that respect. So get those years in and understand the industry before you start jumping. But yeah, Michael, great question. Okay, so next question. Fatima in Dubai. Do you ever get tired of taking photos before eating? Or is that part of the fun for you? So, do I ever get tired of taking photos of it before eating? Well, it's part of my job, actually. Because I also want to, shout out the restaurant that I went to. So I never get tired of taking photos before eating, but I try and do it as quick as possible because I want to eat it, as the chef gave it to me, hot. So yeah, never get tired of it. And also it just gives me an opportunity to see how food trends are developing over months and years. So yeah, but influencer. So you're an influencer. All right. So I could talk about influencers, but I'm not going to. Not today. All right, George. Okay, historian. Okay, what's the one forgotten dish you think deserves a comeback in 2025? Oh, that's a really good question. Forgotten dish that deserves a comeback. I would say that the art of making a terrine. I haven't seen an amazing terrine in a long time. So for those of you who don't know what a terrine is, it's basically, you could, and even if you make a pâté en croûte, so if you make a terrine within pastry itself, that's another art, and it's, oh my God. Yeah, those need to come back. Because when you're making, so a terrine basically could be, let's say a secondary cut of meat that is shredded, but you're also using the gelatin from the stock to layer it, and literally layer, set it in the fridge 24 hours or overnight, and then you slice through it, and then when you open it, it's sort of textured and layered, and they're just amazing. We used to make one with Nick and Scott. Shout out to you boys. When we were working for Gordon Ramsay at Claridge's, and it was the terrine of nightmares. It was a transparent lobster terrine. It was a disaster to cut. it was a disaster to cut, really. And to make it, it was beautiful. So you have your beautiful knuckles and bits of lobster through the terrine, and then you'd have to make kind of like a transparent jelly. Then you'd set it, and then to cut it was a right palaver. Long knife in a sort of big jug of hot water, 100 degrees, because if it wasn't hot, you would, and the knife had to be super sharp. I mean, and it went wrong for me multiple times. You can see the frustration in my face. It went wrong just a lot, and there was a lot of wastage and a lot of shouting and a lot of screaming. So still got PTSD about it, obviously. But yeah, I think terrines must, and they need to make a comeback. So yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so let's wrap it up. So 2 more questions. So Liam, who is a CDP. All right, Liam. Would you rather run a 20-seat restaurant with no stress or a global restaurant empire with endless... Oh, my God. Here we go. So, I'll phrase the question one more time. Would you rather run a tiny 20-seat restaurant with no stress or a global empire with endless stress? Thing is, I mean, Liam, if you listen or watch the podcast, you know what type of person I am, right? So even though I love the thought of a tiny, intimate, beautiful 20-seater dining room with beautiful lights, great tables, great food ambience. I love the thought of that, right? That is right up my street. However, Liam, you know that I'm into challenges, and you know that I'm into pushing myself. So I think, to answer your question, a global restaurant empire would have to be the case for me. Because it's the type of person I am. I like to challenge myself. I like to push beyond the boundaries. So yeah, sorry, Chief. But that's a great question. So yeah, global restaurant empire, I'm afraid. All right, last but not least, Sophia Anderson, another hospitality student in Stockholm. Oh my God, what a question. What's the most important lesson you've learned from failure? What's the most important lesson you've learned from failure? I think the most important is that failure is a piece of gold that you should use. And actually it's a great gift. I would say failure is a gift because it teaches you so many things. So that's what I would say. And yeah, I mean, I've done it thousands of times. In so many ways. And I think the other thing is that it's also about taking chances. And taking a chance can lead you to 50-50, right? You could either win or you could lose. So yeah, it's important to learn from failure, to understand what happened and to move on. But also, if you think about it from a kitchen perspective or a restaurant perspective, there are thousands of ways in which we could fail on a daily basis, whether it's chopping chives the wrong way or too big, or overcooking a steak, or serving somebody heavy cake. These failures are what sort of help you grow in your career and help you grow in life, actually. And these are the lessons which are really important. And again, there was a great podcast called the High Performance Podcast, and there's a clip from Gordon. I'm sure you've all seen it, where he says, learn to dance in the rain. And I think that's such an important thing, you know. What he's basically telling you is, you know, learn to love those failures. Because with those failures, then they will push you to greater heights. So yeah, I think that's really important. And Sophia, the very best of luck in Stockholm. And again, shout out to everyone in those Scandinavian countries, because you guys are doing some amazing things. Really amazing things. So yeah, that is what a crazy Q&A session, and thank you very much. I mean, wow, a lot to unload there. But look, everyone, that wraps up our introductory episode for season 11. I'm personally really excited to see your reaction, to listen to everything that you guys have to say for feedback, because also it's mega important. And as always, don't be shy to message me. Let me know the feedback, as it helps to make the show a success. I want to say a huge thank you again to all of you. Thank you for supporting the show. Don't forget to grab our exclusive thermos, beautiful bottles. Get yours now. Just DM me and I'll get those over to you. Huge thank you to our sponsors for making this show absolutely possible, and we could have not have done this without you. Enjoy the upcoming season. Don't forget to give us a cheeky 5-star review. The question is, have you subscribed? And if not, you've been extremely naughty. Please press the all-important follow button on all podcast platforms, as well as on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. To my culinary brothers and sisters, keep spreading the word. And one last thing. If you enjoy the show, or know someone who could learn a few lessons from our guests, then please just share it. As you never know, these conversations might inspire someone to take action and become the very best at what they do. Thank you for listening. You're a legend. Until next time, food is memories.